Hey guys, welcome to part one of hopefully two, where I, Bryce, rank every NHL team going into this upcoming season. And then hopefully we'll get Tripp's half soon as well. Um, so I think it's no surprise that the San Jose Sharks, although they have really good talent, they're going to be bottom of the barrel, so I'm just going to put them in F right now. This is not watchability, because watchability, they're probably going to be a little higher with, William Eklund, Will Smith, Celebrini, um, yeah. But besides watchability, I think it's no surprise that San Jose is, especially after last year, giving up two consecutive 10-goal games, that they're going to be still bottom of the league. But this team definitely got better, 100%. They brought in Mackenzie Blackwood, who looks like to be a starter, and they did bring in Askarov, but Askarov got sent down to the minors, even though he's on a 2x4 AAV. They also brought in Wenberg, uh, and Toffoli and Barclay Goodrow from the Rangers. But I think overall this team's going to be in the F tier, and that's okay. I think just joining them, even though they have um, Adam Fantilli, is going to be the CBJs. Actually, let's do this. The CBJs, no offense, Jack Sable, but these guys are in for a rough one. Um, their goalies are Tarasov and Merzlikins, even though they got good pads, the play isn't that good. Um, but other than that, they got like Marchenko, getting rid of Line. That's even though he wasn't the best at times, it's still a huge loss. And then, Van Riemsdyk, Sean Monahan, I think is gonna be a bright spot to this team, but Zach Werenski's like the only defenseman really besides like Provorov that's really like name worthy, I guess. No offense to the other guys, but you know, um, the team's lacking a lot of depth, a lot of still very young, really good fan base. So but yeah, it's no surprise that they're F tier. Yeah, I mean this is another F team. I'm honestly like Calgary. The only thing that these fans have got them looking forward to the season is the fact that it's going to be over. Um, the only good thing in their future is their new arena. Huberdeau, ever since he's gone, has been a shell of himself. They're clearly rebuilding. Sharangovich, huge bright spot for them. Played unreal last year. Kuzmenko, hopefully he gets up and running. They brought in Longberg and Dewar. And then they have Wolf and Vladar, probably 1 and 2, but we don't know with Devin Cooley, but if he will um compete with them. They also have Mackenzie Weegar still, Jake Bean, Kevin Ball. I mean, it's an overall like pretty good team, but yeah, I don't think any shocking news is going to come out of Alberta, at least on the Flame side. But on the other side of Alberta, let's just throw Edmonton right up in the S tier. I think if you've seen the Amazon Prime documentary, even Kachuk says, "We'll see you guys next year. You guys are too good." During the handshake line, even though the Panthers won, they re-signed Leon Draisaitl with that crazy extension, 14 mil um, AAV, and then they brought in guys like Victor Arvidsson, Jeff Skinner, proven guys that can prove that they can score. They still have Bouchard, Nurse in the back end. Stuart Skinner, he's coming up on a contract here, so he's probably going to be playing really well. And then they have McDavid they at least confirmed 1 more year until his contract's up. But yeah, I think Edmonton's going to be one of the better teams in the league, especially in the Pacific, let alone. And I don't think that comes to a surprise. Anyway, um, let's just put the Catlantic division as Keith Yandel likes to say. Um, I don't think this will be a surprise to many people either. Florida Panthers, really good team last year, really good team this year. Same Bobrovsky and net. Um, looks like it might be Spencer Knight as backing up. But they let go of the likes of Stolarz, their backup goalie. Didn't really do much for them anyway. But this team, they re-signed Ryan Hart, or yeah, Ryan Hart. They still have Sam Bennett, still have Kachuk. They got rid of Duclair. Evan Rodriguez took a huge step in the playoffs, so look for him to replicate that form. But this team's going to be really, really good. And then they brought in a guy like Nate Schmidt. So if he doesn't play every game, that's a great plug and play guy who can step into the lineup when and if needed. But overall, this team's going to be really good. Ekblad at the helm, Lindell, overall super depth team. Paul Maurice, great coaching. And yeah, can't say anything more about that. Kind of just, self-explanatory. Our first C team. And I'm gonna go with the Minnesota Wild. Only because I understand. We just signed Jesper Wallstedt to 2 times 2.2 AAV because this is Fleury's last year, and Gustafsson he didn't have the best of years last year. Um, but he's still a good goalie by any means. Um, Also, I think the Wild are just going to be a team that are kind of just there, especially in the Central Division with so many teams looking for that wild card spot. But I think Kaprizov's going to have close to 100, if not 100 points. I think Boldy, Marco Rossi, Brock Faber, Trennan. I think they have a really good team overall, and then they have shootout like extraordinaire Goodrow on that bottom line, fourth line. But um, I think this team's just gonna kind of be there. I don't know if they're there yet. I'm looking at their center depth now. It's not bad by any means. I mean, Eric Sinek is one of the more underappreciated guys in the league, and whether or not Rossi does stay their line center, but Hartman up top. I understand that he's really good chem with Zuccarello and Kaprizov, but when I see Ryan Hartman, I don't really think of him as a number one, let alone maybe a good number two on another team center. But yeah, I kind of just think they're gonna be there. I think they're gonna be in that playoff, that wild card hunt. Um, but yeah, I think they're gonna be in the C tier for now. Um, then let's go to go to the Devils. They're still a new. They're out of that rebuild phase, so I'm gonna stick them in the A. I might be depending on how the layout goes. I might be sticking them in the S, but think I'm gonna go A for now. They're, getting Markstrom, in the summer was huge. I think they're the serious contenders. Um, Jesper Bratt, Hughes, those guys are gonna get you, so many points, help with the power play so much, quickness just in that first line alone. And then Timo Meyer scored 20 goals in like I don't know, the last 30 games of the year. So if he can keep that form going, I don't see why this Devils team, and that's not even mentioning Heischer or Hala or Tomas Lotar and Andre Palat, who didn't have the best of the year, but maybe he'll bounce back. He's a proven winner with Tampa. So I think this team's really, really good. And Dougie Hamilton's back. Luke Hughes, when he gets back from injury, will push this team to another level in itself. But overall, I'm gonna stick Devils in the serious contenders in A. Yeah, not much to be said about them. I think the Hurricanes are definitely taking a step back compared to last year. They let Getzel go, and I think it's kind of on the decline of their winning years, I guess you could say. Their biggest addition was like Sean Walker, which I mean, by any means is Mm, they lost Brett Pesci, who actually went to the NJ Devs. Um, but hopefully, Shevchennikov can get back up to his rookie and sophomore year scoring. Seb Aho Jarvis, he signed that. He got the bag. They all wore the t-shirts. Um, yeah, hopefully he can keep his form. And then Kochetkov, he's good every 6 games. Mm. And then Freddie Anderson always has something wrong. I mean, no offense, the guy always has something wrong with him. Some sort of storyline in every year. And then they have Ghost, Brent Burns still, who's on the cusp of 40 or if not 40. And Chatfield. I mean, it's an overall pretty good team. It's a gritty team. By any means, I don't think they're gonna plow you with their scoring. They used to plow you with their scoring, and they had those third and fourth lines that kind of just played shutdown. But now I think they're getting rid of Teravainen as well. And, I think they're asking a little too much of that top line, and then the bottom lines. To still stay gritty. And maybe they're asking a little more of them, which I don't think is good. That can end up being a weakness, and being them vulnerable, because they're playing that offense they're not used to. But I think Carolina, that maybe that last wild card spot in the Metro, I think they're gonna be right along there. Um, let's go with a team that I think I think it's gonna turn some heads, and I'm gonna put them in the B. They might be bottom eventually, but I'm gonna put them in the B for now. I think this team's gonna be really good. They just named Clayton Keller captain. I don't, you know, I know a lot of people are already counting them off because basically the Arizona Coyotes last year. I think this team's biggest question mark is really just their goaltending. I mean, Ingram and, right-handed goalie, Ramelka, never a good sign. Both have good pads. But I mean, Dylan Gunther is signed to a huge contract. Logan Cooley in this sophomore year, I don't think he's gonna have a slump like Beniers did. I think he's gonna be unreal. They have Dursey, Valimaki, Sergachev in that huge offseason trade from Tampa. And then they have Matias Michelli, who I'm really high of, Barrett Hayton, Lawson Krause, and Nick Schmaltz. I think this team's gonna, shock a lot of people, and I think the fan base in Utah is gonna be electrified, and they might even come out as the Yetis. That's what it looks like to be their name, but I think they are gonna make that last wild card, that last wild card spot. Um, yeah, look for Utah Hockey Club to make playoffs. Let's go back to the F. I'm gonna put Anaheim. Again, it's not watchability. I mean, they got Troy Terry, they have McTavish, they have um, Vetrano, who had I don't think is gonna have he had 60 points last year, Frankie V. I don't think he's gonna have nearly that many points this year. I mean, Gibson just went down hurt, but I think Dostal would have taken a spot anyway starting. Cam Fowler, look, he might get traded. They have Zellweger still. They have, Ryan Strome, um, Leo Carlson, who was unreal last year. Killorn, who needs to step up with his, contract. Ross Johnson, the fact that he's still in the league. Robbie Fabry, and then the two kind of biggest storylines is Cutter Gauthier, and a lot of people are saying that he is going to get 30 goals and will be a high Calder Trophy candidate. So we'll see how that plays out. And I'll be surprised if they do what they did with Leo Carlson last year and how they didn't play him certain games and then played him in the latter half of the year a lot. So that'll be interesting. And then Joe Dirt, Mullet, T. Zegras, Trevor Zegras. He signed that prove it type of bridge deal contract with a 3 x 4 AAV, I think last year, and he only had like 13 points, and he was injured. Like he only played like 20 something games. So this is going to be a big prove it year for him. He also might get traded to a new team. So this is a huge season for Trevor Zegras, to stay in the league. I think let's go to Nashville. Nashville is I think, a really good team. They brought in some proven winners. Barry Trotz still at the helm. He's a great manager. They had a great coach last year, especially going on a like 19 game win streak in regulation. Um, last season they brought in Marshall, Stamkos. They still have O'Reilly, Forsberg, Yossi. Um, I think this team's gonna really be, really good. And then they have like a big fourth line with McCarron in the center. Evangelista, really good young talent. Um, and Gustav Nyquist, if he gets 60 points again like last year, I think this team's gonna be really dangerous, especially on the power play. And then they have two good goalies, and obviously UC Saros and Scott Wedgwood. So, yeah, excited to watch Nashville this year, and Bridgestone Arena. It's gonna be pumping like always. Um, mm, let's go with the first D group category here. I'm gonna put the Chicago Blackhawks here. And I understand, they're not gonna be the best of teams. But I do think this team, they took a lot of they took a lot of new additions in management, adding a lot of pieces in to this team. I don't think they're gonna be playoff contender by any means. But I are think it is going to be, United Center going to have a lot more, I guess a lot. It's going to be a harder place to play, 100%. Not only with probably more fans showing up, but also the fact that this is a harder team, roster wise. Bedard, obviously, Taylor Hall back from injury from like only playing 3 games last year. Lucas Reichel, Kurashev and Bedard, like those guys, are unbelievable together. They brought in Tyler Bertuzzi, they brought back Teuvo Teravainen, Mikheyev, I really like. I think he's gonna have a good year. They just captained Foligno. Um, not the most depth in the world, not the most they're definitely an experienced group. Um, and then they just lost Brassois for 5 weeks, and I think he would eventually became the starter over Mrazek. That's gonna be okay. They still have Pickles, which is Vlasic. Um, Alex Martinez, who they just brought in. Um, Murphy, who's solid, Seth Jones, and they actually just sent Kevin Korchinski down to the AHL. So I thought that was pretty interesting. But I think overall, Chicago Blackhawks are in the D category. Let's pump some teams out. Let's go Pittsburgh in the C. Self-explanatory. They brought in Cody Glass and Bavillier. They re-signed Crosby to that 8.7. He doesn't want to leave that type of deal. I don't think they're going to be, they got Tristan Jarry and Nedeljkovic, who kind of won the net, it seemed like at the end of last year. They still have Malkin, Letang, Carlson. Their power play was awful. I think they're kind of just trying to win. That they still have the big three there. I don't think this team's always gonna be hard to play no matter, if Crosby's there or not. They also have Rucker McGorty who's in the starting lineup. But yeah, they're not gonna be contenders. They might squeak into the playoffs like the Capitals did, but yeah. They're not gonna be challenging many people by any means. Um Now let's go with the Capitals, who I'm gonna put for now in the D. I'm just looking at their roster here. I know we've already talked about them in the Metro. But I mean, they kind of gotten in the playoffs, even though they shouldn't have. Like highest goals against to team and to ever make the playoffs. Like absolutely ridiculous how they got in. They have two right-handed goalies, and that's never a good sign. Lindgren and Thompson, right? Yeah, yeah. I didn't know if the camera. I think this team's just looking for Ovechkin to break the record, which he's like 40 and change off of, if not 40. Um, they brought in Mangiapane, who's really good. Um, they still have Tom Wilson, Strome, Ovechkin, obviously, McMichael, who's really good young talent. Tony Milano is good and young. They brought in Chikrin as well, so that'll be an interesting defense. Sandin, Van Riemsdyk on the defense, Carlson, and they also have who's looking to revive his career 100% in Pierre-Luc Dubois. So I mean, they might be above Pittsburgh, but I'm just trying to like I don't want, you know what I mean? Like I'm trying to balance all the categories out. Um, you know what? I'm gonna stick Capitals in C actually. We're gonna put Caps in C. That's what we're gonna do. All right. Yeah. Sorry. But yeah, Capitals, I think above Pittsburgh, but they'll be right around where they were last year, but I don't think they'll make the playoffs. Let's go D, Montreal. Mm, Montreal. Sorry. Dehydrated. Um, Montreal, 100% in the D. I think Patrick Laine would have had a great year, but he's injured for the first few months. I think as well as Jack Eye or not Jack Eye. Yeah. Um, oh no, Ryan Backer. Sorry, he's 5 to 6 months, which is a huge loss. For them, you don't want to see a young, talented defenseman go down like that. Um, but they do have Lane Hudson, who's going to be a nice, bright young spot. Yuri Slafkovsky played unbelievable last year. Um, uh, they have Kirby Dach coming back from injury, Cole Caulfield, Nick Suzuki, Wi-Fi, um, Matheson. They still have like a pretty solid team, but their goaltending's horrible. Sam Montembeault and Caden Primo cannot lead a team. I understand you don't need, like Tripp says, you don't need good goaltending to win. Um, but when scoring and defense aren't the best on a team like Montreal, you do need them to save to come up big, and a lot of times, and we saw that. It happened some sort of last year, but I don't think Montreal's making the playoffs, especially those two injuries to Reinbacker and Line. I think it really handicaps them. Let's go. Let's go with the Bees, who just were in the news, re-signing Swayman to an 8x825. That saga finally ends. They also have a decent backup goalie and Korpisalo, so that's good depth. Um, I think they're contenders just because of their lineup is always. I mean, the Bruins are always going to be in that playoff hunt. Um, excuse me. Obviously they have Pasta. They brought in Lindholm. They brought in Zadorov, two key pieces that were in the Vancouver lineup when they made that deep playoff run last year. They also have McAvoy and Lorai, who played unbelievable last year. I don't think anyone saw him, like young defenseman, doing that. Um, and then they also have Brendan Carlo, um, and Lindholm on the defensive Lindholm, sorry. And Elias Lindholm is was the center edition. Um, but yeah, I mean they let go of Jake DeBrusk, but that they still have Marchand, Charlie Coyle, Geeky, Trent Frederick, uh, and then I think a guy that's Paul Zaka, and I think a guy to look out for is Poitras, before he left for the juniors. He was a really good young, bright, quick guy that they had in the lineup, and he had like I don't know, 20 points, I want to say, in 30 games. So I think the Bees are, and they're always going to be lurking around the deadline. So I think the Bees are going to be right. Um, as long as they don't face the Panthers in the playoffs at first round, I think they're gonna go far and be serious contenders this year. That being said, Toronto Maple Leafs, I'm gonna put them in the A only because of the playoffs. They were so close last year. Game 7, OT, lose on the breakaway from Pastrnak, which you I watched it yesterday during the Amazon documentary. I don't know how Samsonov doesn't poke check that puck, but that's neither here nor there. I don't think Samsonov was the problem last year at all, but they do have Justin Wool now going to be the starter with Anthony Stolarz, a really good backup from Florida. They sent Samsonov. Oh, Samsonov is in Vegas now. They brought in Tanev, really good defensive addition. I think getting rid of Giordano was really good as well. They just signed Pacioretty to a 1-year, 800K deal. They have Camp on the fourth line, Robinson on a 1-year, 875, who scored like 5 goals this preseason. He looks good. And then they have the core four, you know, Nylander, Marner, Matthews, Tavares, and they still have Morgan Riley. They still have Jake McCabe, who I think is really underappreciated as a defenseman. And then they have Matthew Nyes, who's unbelievable. They have Bobby McCann. Whether or not he's in a lineup opening night, as what we'll see. But either than if he's not, then he's a guy that can fit in and play unbelievable. He had so many times where he came in and scored last year. He had a hat trick in one of the games he came in. And then they have Lawrence, who they just signed to a 1-year, like 750K. And I think Max Domi is a really good player that this team has. Another underappreciated guy. He played center in the playoffs last year, and he was unbelievable at snapping back draws. But just because of their playoffs, I'm gonna put Toronto in the A. But I wouldn't be surprised if they won the Atlantic Division. Let's go to NY. I think these guys are going to be pretenders. I think the New York market always makes them good, and I think they always have a good team on paper with Shesterkin. Quick's near a milestone, so he'll probably get that. They have, Adam Fox. They had a little. all-season trauma with Jake, with Truba, and his captaincy and his, no trade clause and everything. And then they also have, Keandre Miller, Schneider, you know, but I don't think this team. I think they're fugazi. I don't think they're gonna be. I think they're pretenders, not contenders. That's why I'm gonna put them in the B. I think they're gonna take a step back this year. They brought in Riley Smith, who had a rough time in Pittsburgh. So let's see if he can get back to that Vegas form. They still have Panarin, Kreider. Lafreniere looked really good last year. Heedle just see if he can stay healthy. He didn't play a lot of games last year, and I think they rushed him back in the playoffs. And then they have Zibanejad, um, and Capo Caco, who's looking to, show that second overall pick, kind of level. Um, and then they have Vinny Trocheck, who played unbelievable in the playoffs for them last year. Kind of um, their most, um, what would you call it? Like the most, like every night he went out and played. Most reliable player to play well was Vinny Trocheck. But I think this team's going to be pretenders. And I guess the biggest storyline there is Rempe going to play or not? I mean, I don't like this team. I don't like their fans. Um, but yeah, I think they're pretenders, and they're on the downside as well with the Hurricanes, but just 1 year above the Hurricanes. But I think they're also going to be active. The New York market always makes them active in the trade deadline. So whether or not that does something, but yeah, pretenders, not contenders. Mm, um, let's go with Vegas. I think I'm gonna put Vegas bottom of A. Um, for now, Jack Eichel played unbelievable. He's so good. They brought in Ilya Samsonov, Eden Hill. I think he's going to lose the net to Samsonov. They have such good defense with Hannafin last year. Um, White Cloud, Petrangelo, Haig, McNabb. Such a good defensive depth. And then their forwards, they brought in Victor Olofsson from Buffalo, really good talent. They still have Carlson. They brought in Hurdle last year. Didn't really play that well. Um, and he wasn't healthy for a while, but still, they brought in Hurdle with that huge, LTIR injury money, and so he's looking for a bounce back here, and I think he will get it. Um, then they have Holtz. That fourth line has been really good for him with Howden, Ashton Reese, and Kolesar. And then they have Nicholas Waugh too. Mark Stone, who I think I'm still surprised is still, you know, I guess not hanging around, but still can keep up. I'm surprised he hasn't lost a step, but we'll see. Um, this season how that turns out. But I think Vegas, that everyone knows they're that cutthroat organization. They're gonna do what they need to do to win. We saw that with the Marshall, how he left. Um, but yeah, I think this team is in the bottom A. I think they're gonna make the playoffs. Whether I'm sure they'll be active at the deadline, but it's just a team to keep your eye on, 100%. Let's go. Let's go with the Flyers. They have Samuel Eriksson, and that huge goalie from Russia, Fedotov. I don't know how you pronounce his name. I think they're a team that are gonna be good this year. I think I'm gonna do this. I think they're gonna, yeah, put the cap by that caps. I think they're gonna be good this year. I think they're gonna be right around that fourth, fifth wild card spot. They brought in they have Michikov now. Konechny's unbelievable. Interesting to see what they'll do with Captain Sean Couturier after him being scratched by Torts a lot last year. Owen Tippett played unbelievable. Scott Lawton really good. Bobby Brink, Noah Cates, Joel Farabee, really good. They got Jamie Drysdale, Ristolainen on the defensive end, Travis Samheim, Cam York. Overall, just a solid team, but I think they're missing that, Travis Konechny is really good, but I think they're missing that true goal scorer and that true, maybe Mishikov can somewhat fill that role, but I think they're missing one more talent. And, I think they just have a bunch of second lines, um, or a bunch of second slash third lines, but I think this team's going to be good and almost put them above the Wild if it wasn't for that fact. Actually, we're going to do this. Wait, now I'm just thinking about it, I'm going to put Wild there, but I think Flyers going to be good. Fourth or fifth wild card spot. Interesting team to look out for. And, I mean, they kind of derailed last year and they should have made the playoffs, but they derailed in the last 10 games. So maybe they'll be active at trade line deadline two to get past that hump. So yeah, but we are gonna put. I'm realizing now that like some of these teams, like the Kraken, right? Like today, all right, let's go Seattle. They brought in a lot of pieces with Chandler Stevenson on a huge contract, Brandon Montour on a huge contract. But this is those are those guys' last contracts, 100% in the league. Joey Decord, um, Grubauer. Joey Decord played unbelievable last year. Maybe he'll start um opening night versus the Blues. Um, but yeah, decent team. Yanni Gord, Beniers hopefully to have a bounce back year after his sophomore slump. Bjorkstrand, Burakovsky, uh, Jared McCann, their all-time franchise point scorer. Um, uh, Holvinen, who they took a chance on last year, ended up working out really well for him. Jordan Eberle, Tanev, um, Carte, Schwartz, and then, the elephant in the room was their fourth overall pick 2 years ago with Shane Wright. Can he enter this lineup and make a difference? Can he show his draft class? Not draft class. Can he show his draft stock was for a reason? So an interesting team to keep your eye on in the Pacific, in the Western Conference and the Pacific Division. A team that I would not keep your eye on. I don't really know how to counter that, but I think Drew Doughty getting hurt is going to kill the Kings. Um, I mean, Darcy Kemper's not even, a good of a goaltender as he used to be. I think it looks like David Riddick's the backup. I think Drew Doughty being out for the first few months of the year is going to be really crucial as, games in October and December are just as important as March and April. Um, they Quentin Byfield's going to be unbelievable. Kopitar, unbelievable. Kempe, Laferriere, Kevin Fiala. They lost Victor Arvidsson to a Pacific Division team, one that they can't beat in the playoffs. Gavrikov, Jordan Spence, uh, Edmondson, Clark on the defensive end. I think this team is going to be decent above the Kraken, 100%. But I think the Doughty loss is going to be huge, and it might lead to a swap between these two. Um, Trying to remember the Pacific Division episode that we did. I don't remember if what we said with the playoffs. I don't think I said they were making it. I don't really remember. But yeah, I'm gonna put them in the C tier for now. Let's put another team in the A. Let's go to the Nucks. Vancouver, really good team. The only team to stop like McDavid and the Oiler power play in the off season. They did lose Elias Lindholm. They did lose Elias Lindholm and Zadorov, two guys that they did bring in to make that playoff push. Quinn Hughes, really good. Philip Roenick, really good. Um, you know, Tyler Myers, I really like. I think this team's going to be really active at the deadline again. So maybe they'll take an Islander because they have like no cap space. With like Pellick, Pollock, Mayfield, one of those guys. A lot of good defensemen in the league right now. Um, that can be shot. Really good lineup with JT, Brock, Darren Heinen. Bringing in Jake DeBrusk, I think is going to fit right in with Pedersen. Sprong, Connor Garland was unbelievable last year. It looks like Atu Rati, Islander prospect, a really good top Islander prospect. He's going to make the opening lineup. So that's going to be really interesting for them. And then they have playoff machine Arthur Sheilov starting because Demko was hurt for the first beginning of the year, and they have a proven backup, I'd say. Um, I guess proven is Kevin Lank. Maybe not proven, but Kevin Lankin, and kind of like an anti-Ronaldo almost type of style goaltending. I think this Vancouver team's going to be really good. Um, I think they're going to be super active at the deadline, and I wouldn't be surprised if their third and fourth lines um change drastically because they're slipping guys into the first and second lines, you know, falling down into place. But I wouldn't be shocked if they went out and got a defenseman. Um, let's go, let's go Dallas. I think this team's going to be unbelievable again. I think Ottinger had an off year. Um, I actually think I'm gonna put them here in the contenders. If I'm putting Boston, I might as well put Dallas there. Um, yeah, I mean Tyler Seguin, Jamie Benn, if they can do what they did last year, really good. I keep looking here, and it's here. Um, if they could be, like that last year, they're really, really good and really help the team out. Wyatt Johnson, he's so skilled and unbelievable. He's such a 200-foot player too. He was so good for them in that Vegas series. Um and then Logan Stankoven. I mean, we only saw I think this is his rookie year because I don't think he played enough games last year, so he might be a Calder favorite as well. But he's another unbelievable talent that they do have. Um and yeah, I think they have uh just a really good team in Dallas, a really good fan base in Dallas, and I wouldn't be surprised if they go back to the Western Conference Finals. I think it's a really good team. They were my cup picks last year, and I think Jake Ottinger didn't have the best postseason, and I think that's what kind of did it. But Pete DeBoer, what a winning coach! He's been there so many times, to those game sevens especially, and he's done it. So I really like Dallas Stanley Cups this year. Um, let's go with a guy. Speaking of the Amazon Prime documentary, who might be coming back. Gabe Landeskog for the Colorado Avalanche, their captain. Um, they were goaltending is not the best. So put them. I'm gonna put them here because I think Nathan McKinnon is the best player in the league. Cale Makar not far behind him. Um, this is a team filled with individual brilliance. Um, a lot of good players in here. Mikko Rantanen, Casey Middlestat's good. You know, Miles Wood really good, and I think Jonathan Drouin. We saw in the playoffs how good he can be. Another guy right there. Ross Colton, another guy. I think their goaltending's not there, so I'm actually gonna swap him back with Toronto. Sammy Gerard, Manson, Calvin DeHaan, a guy such a veteran, probably gels with every locker room he's been in. Um, really reliable, solid defenseman that you're just gonna, get a 7 out of 10 every night. So that's a really good pickup there. And then whether or not I forget his name, I'm not bear with me. I'm gonna look him up. Um, but yeah, I mean, it's um this guy. We'll see what happens with Gabe Landeskog. Um, see what happens with Gabe Landeskog. See if he comes back, and if he's in fact can still keep up at the NHL level, especially after such an injury that kept him out for like 2.5 years. And then Val Nichushkin, what's gonna be his thing? Like, what will he be able to come back, and will he be able to fit back into the locker room? After letting his team down last year in the postseason, again. But yeah, interesting team to look out for. Maybe they go out and get a goalie because Georgiev is awful, to say the least. But yeah, interesting team. Definitely deep playoff contenders. I don't know about Stanley Cup again, but they just won a few years back. So, um, hmm. Now this Atlantic division. is honestly super impossible to predict. A lot of teams there. So I think I'm gonna just clear out the Central, and then we'll go to that Atlantic/Metro with the Islanders. So I'm gonna put Winnipeg. I'm gonna put Winnipeg. See, this is Winnipeg has a lot of. Yeah, I'm gonna put Winnipeg top of C. Uh, no, I think Wild have a better shot than Winnipeg. Connor Hellebuyck was awful in the postseason. I mean, he was actually atrocious. He was worse than Georgiev, and Georgiev was awful. He just couldn't stop a beach ball, Hellebuyck. So I mean, coming off of like a Vezina candidate season, the fact that he was that bad in the postseason, that's interesting. Whether, can he still play 65 games this year and then and still be okay in the postseason? I don't know. Eric Comrie might need to step up as a backup. Their defense, Pionk, Josh Morrissey's unbelievable, Sandberg, and then Kate Fleury. And then their forwards, they just signed Perfetti on a bridge deal, 2 times 3, I think, the AV. Kyle Connor, unbelievable. Shifley, really good. And then Gabe Vilardi, Nikolai Ehlers, who might get shopped this year as his contract's up. Shane Lowry, really good. Nemestikov, Nina Ryder played good for, his age and contract last year. And then Alex Iafallo, also in that Pure League debauch trade a few years ago. And Appleton as well. I think this team's really solid. Um, you know what? I think just with that first 2 lines alone, I'm gonna put them above the Wild, and I think this team might make the playoffs, but I think Utah are gonna have them beat for that Central. Really good, experienced team, so I'm not surprised, but I wouldn't be surprised if they lost a few pieces on their own. I feel like the cusp of a rebuild, looming, especially Nikolai Ehlers. Let's go with the Blues. The Blues are a solid team. Blues are a solid team. Feel like, yeah, because I have like Pittsburgh and Capitals like somewhat like, just battling for a playoff spot. I don't think they'll make it. So I'm actually gonna also put the Blues there. They offer sheeted 2 guys that kind of shocked the league, and Philip Broberg and Dylan Holloway. Two, if they can play like they did in the playoffs, then that offer sheet looks like a genius move. But Bennington I think is a really, really good goalie, and I think he should start for the Canada and the Four Nations. Joe Hoffer, really good backup actually too. And then they have, Robert Schnoz Thomas, Jordan Kyrou, Jake Neighbors, who kind of took the league not by storm last year, but was really underappreciated talent. He scored, I think, 20 something goals. No one expected that at all. Really, really good. They just signed Pavel Buchnevich to a long year, 6 times 8, I think. He was very deserving of that contract. They brought in Texier, and then they have Topachenko, and they have both Joseph brothers now. Um, whether or not they both make the lineup, but I think Matthew or Matthew, however you pronounce it, will. Brandon Saad, Texier, Pasca, and then they still have Nicoletti, Pareko, Justin Falk, and then they also have now Ryan Sutter. In the defense, I think it's just a decent team. I don't think they're going to make playoffs this year the way that the Central Division is stacking up. But yeah, like decent team. I think Blues fans are gonna still be entertained. And yeah, unless Jordan Bennington goes on a Vezina winning this season, I don't think they make the playoffs. But yeah, still a good team. And I think this year the storyline of the league is just the wild cards, especially Central. You got Utah, Winnipeg, Minnesota, Kraken, Kings, like, and then Blues, mate, like, and then you have Rangers, who I think are going to be battling, third or fourth. Detroit, Ottawa, Tampa, Buffalo, Islanders. Like, those are teams like you never know. But I'm gonna put the Islanders. I think the Rangers are fugazi. I'm putting the Islanders in the B tier because I really genuinely they just waived here like Engvall, and I think they're showing how they're getting Lou Amarillo's kind of like he's losing the nonsense now. I think Patty Waugh is a really good coach, who's kind of showing that to Lou. And I think the emotion is kind of leaving New York, how of like, we kept Clutterbuck and Matt Martin for way too long. Matt Martin is not, we are not going to give, the Islanders are not giving Matt Martin his PTO, but he's just going to stay with the org. I think just as a good locker room guy, and I think it's a really smart move. Um, they have a really good defense act, like one of the better defenses when this team is at their best in the league. They do need to get their penalty kill. It kind of used to be a thing that we were known that the Islanders were known for. Um, but yeah, if they can get back up and running, if Ilya Sorokin coming off a back surgery, if he can be healthy and play really well, their forwards lineup, they brought in Duclair. Barzell is unbelievable. I think he'll get 100 points this year. Bo Horvat. Sorry, breaking news. Jets just fired Robert Saleh. Love that. Code Jet ETS, Joe Douglas. Brock Nelson, one of the most underappreciated, undervalued players in the league. He's unbelievable. Um, Anders Lee, I think he'll be fine this year. Holmstrom, he's been unreal on the PK. Casey Zeke is really good. And then Kyle Palmieri, 30 goals last year. What a relive to that to his game. But I think the team's gonna be second in the Metro, if maybe third in the Metro. I think they're gonna, take advantage of the Hurricanes, the Flyers, the Capitals, the Penguins, the Rangers being a lesser than what they normally are. I mean, granted, this team has no cap space whatsoever. Came out that they only have 200K, but you don't know if you deal a guy like Mayfield or Pollock or Pellick, one of those guys who make 6 million. Dobson, who has 70 something points last year, who they have to re-sign. But yeah, I think the team's gonna be second or third in the Metro, 100%. Um, the Stevie Y plan. I don't think they make the playoffs this year. I don't think Ottawa make the playoffs this year. It's actually Red Wings could make the playoffs. Buffalo, I think aren't only because this is filmed after the first two games that they played versus New Jersey. I think a lot of individual brilliance needs to come out of Ottawa, with Brady, Chuck, and um, Team Stützle, Shane Pinto, Drake Batherson, really good. Linus Allmark, you know what? Let's put Ottawa in the B. Um, yeah, I think overall pretty good team. They just let Hammond go. Their defense is okay with Shabbat. Um, but yeah, I mean, I think Ottawa have a good chance of making the playoffs, but I just don't see how Tampa not go with Vasilevsky, even if as long as he's healthy, he'll be crucial for that Lightning team. And then Kucherov getting 114 points or whatever. Jake Getzel coming for a younger, you know, player, and Jake Getzel coming in for Stamkos. Like, I don't, Braden Point, Hagel, who's like the biggest workhorse in the league, and then Nick Paul, who's actually unbelievable as well. I don't see why this team um doesn't make the playoffs. Like, I'm gonna be honest, Victor Hedman in the back end as well. They brought back Ryan McDonough, another 8 out of 10 every night type of player, really good defensively. Who's gonna bring balance to that lineup? JJ Moser, a young offensive defenseman, 25 years old, really good. So I don't see why Tampa don't make the playoffs. And then Sabres, I think it's just individual brilliance. I don't think that their defense is there yet. I think goaltending, Ukko-Pekka Luukkonen and Devin Levy aren't there yet as starters in the league. But that's okay. One's on an entry level contract, rookie contract, and the other they signed for a nice long term, like 4 mil type of deal in Ukko-Pekka Luukkonen. So totally okay. They just Owen Power's got to get a little more better defensively. But yeah, I think Buffalo have a good future. I think hopefully with the Jets firing Salah that they break their playoff drought because they're battling right now. Sabres both at 13 years apiece. Whether or not they both go 14 or whether or not one of them breaks it, that's interesting in itself and depressing for the other. But yeah, and then Detroit, they brought in Tarasenko, Dylan Larkin, they signed you know two guys, really, really good to 8-year contracts in. Um, Morton Sider and something with an R, forgetting Lucas Raymond. Um, yes, at goaltending, still not there for these guys as still have Alex Lyon, looks like to be the starter. Um, but really good defense for them. They lost Jake Wallman, but they still have, Sherratt, um, you know, and other pieces. Patrick Kane's still there. DeBrinket's still there. Larkin, JT Comfort, really good lineup. Um, so we'll see. Hopefully the CBY for his sake works out. I think they do need a goalie, kind of like the Devils. Um, but yeah, interesting to watch them make a push. And this is my rankings. We'll see. Hopefully Tripp's fingers crossed. In a few days, if not week. But yeah, let me know if you agree or disagree. Thank you. Chimney